What would you do if a carcinogen could be entering your kitchen through everyday pork products? Even as regulators admit the risk, but keep it on the market.
Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello, and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. I'm Ethan Foster, and today we're examining carbadox, a drug used in U.S. pig farming that international authorities have determined has no safe level of exposure. We're looking at how it persists in the food system, what the latest testing shows, and what you can do right now to protect yourself.
I'm Alara Sky. This conversation focuses on facts you can act on. Carbadox is a feed additive used to promote faster growth and to suppress gut infections that spread in crowded facilities. Experts concluded that even tiny residues can leave behind carcinogenic byproducts that damage DNA. Despite this, carbadox remains on the U.S. market.
The regulatory record is clear on 2 points. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has long acknowledged cancer risks, and meaningful action has been repeatedly delayed. Pushback from industrial farming interests, lobbying by drug makers, and slow procedures have stretched this out for decades. When regulators stall, exposure continues for consumers.
You also need to consider the broader pathway of exposure. Farm workers handling medicated feed inhale dust that carries carbadox particles. Waste from large-scale operations can move through waterways, affecting surrounding communities. This is not just a question about what reaches your plate. It is an occupational and environmental issue with a wider footprint.
International response shows a different standard. Canada, Brazil, the United Kingdom, Australia, and the entire European Union banned carbadox years ago. By contrast, the U.S. proposed withdrawing approval in November 2023, but the process stalled again, and carbadox is still available. That gap leaves American consumers facing a risk others have already rejected.
A recent laboratory study adds useful but limited perspective. Researchers developed a method to detect both carcinogenic and non-carcinogenic residues from carbadox and applied it to 33 retail pork products from 13 producers in the Baltimore area. They detected no residues in those specific samples. That finding is important, but it does not establish that the drug isn't being used elsewhere or that other batches are free of residues.
The same study exposed a transparency problem. Most producers either refused to disclose their carbadox practices or did not respond to inquiries. One producer confirmed use, one said they did not, and several gave unclear answers. Without routine disclosure and broad monitoring, you cannot reliably know whether pork you buy originated from carbadox-treated pigs. The researchers stress that stronger, more consistent oversight is necessary.
There is also a practical question about use versus detection. Carbadox remains approved in the U.S., and yet the limited retail sampling found no residues. Two realities can coexist. Residues may degrade before pork reaches stores, or contaminated products may pass through with minimal testing. Either way, the absence of detection in a small sample set is not proof of safety across the system.
Evidence from humane farming practices shows carbadox is not necessary. When pigs are raised with adequate space, proper weaning, and balanced diets, producers do not need a carcinogenic additive to control disease or boost growth. Large buyers could accelerate this transition. If companies like McDonald's and Tyson direct suppliers to drop carbadox, that pressure can remove it from supply chains.
Let's turn to steps you can take now. One option is to avoid pork altogether. That decision reduces any potential exposure to carbadox and addresses another concern discussed by Dr. Mercola: pork's linoleic acid content, which he identifies as a driver of metabolic problems. If you choose to eat pork, look for responsible sources that do not rely on feed additives like carbadox.
Labeling can help, with caveats. Organic standards do not allow carbadox, and certain animal welfare certifications signal better oversight. But labels are not a substitute for direct questions. Ask your butcher or supplier how the pigs were raised and whether feed additives were used. Persistence improves accountability and favors producers committed to safer practices.
Support for humane and regenerative systems is part of the solution. If you buy locally, learn how your farmers manage space, weaning, and feed. Operations that avoid overcrowding and maintain balanced diets report healthier animals without carbadox. Your purchases reinforce those methods and help shift the market toward transparency and safety.
Public pressure also matters. Advocacy groups are calling for a complete ban on carbadox. Adding your name to petitions and directing feedback to major purchasers create measurable signals that consumers want pork produced without carcinogenic drugs. When companies adopt stricter supplier standards, practices change upstream.
A few quick clarifications help frame the issue. Carbadox is dangerous because it breaks down into compounds that damage DNA and increase cancer risk. And international experts determined there is no safe level of exposure. Multiple countries have already banned it, while the U.S. remains an outlier. Beyond ingestion, exposure can occur through inhalation for workers and through environmental contamination for nearby communities.
The current testing landscape highlights both progress and gaps. Sensitive detection methods exist, but the limited retail sample that found no residues was small and geographically narrow. Broader, ongoing monitoring and full producer transparency are necessary if authorities are to protect consumers consistently. Until then, your daily choices remain a primary line of defense.
Here's where you can make an immediate difference. If you want the lowest risk path, avoid pork and reduce your exposure to both carbadox and linoleic acid. If you choose to include pork, prioritize organic or clearly documented, responsibly raised options, and ask sellers direct questions about feed and husbandry. Support farms that reject carbadox, and add your voice to petitions urging regulators and large buyers to finish the job.
Today's challenge: decide your stance and act on it within 24 hours. Either pause pork purchases and plan alternative proteins, or identify a specific supplier that confirms no carbadox use, verify their practices, and shift your buying accordingly. Thank you for watching Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.